I tell them all the time, listen, you're not Donald Trump or a girl in a bikini. No, people want to be entertained.
And you were an employee.
No, I was an employee. I was the head of sales. A lot of people thought I owned the company. I just hung up on a Zoom call with them and said I quit. And so I started shortly thereafter, 2 days later, Blue Collar Media Group.
Of course, starting business, running business, always hard, but what was the hardest?
And I was like, what am I doing? I'm like, I don't know anything about media. I have no business doing this.
In general, what's so hard about this business? Specifically, working with the contractors.
The fact that they don't understand the amount of work that goes into a quality piece of video content, and that doesn't happen overnight. There are groups of talented editors like you have who make the story come to life. Why don't you do for us what you did for them? And I was like, sure, I need the money bad. I had choppy footage. This person paid me. I didn't know what I was doing, but they trusted my brand. That's the one thing that I'll say.
Welcome back to Business Hats Podcast. Today I have a very special guest. Patrick Carr is the founder and owner of Blue Collar Media Group. This is the person who travels to businesses and creates pretty good content every single week. And I have a lot of questions about it. Welcome to the show, brother.
Thank you so much for having me here. I appreciate it, man. Thank you.
So I have a couple of questions, actually all about your content creation and strategy.
Sure.
How do you decide what content to create for your clients?
So every contractor is different. Some would like to get across the point that they are a local contractor. Others would like perhaps to get across the point that they can get the lowest prices. Everyone is different. And so our process always starts with pre-production. We have to learn our client. Before we can script anything, we have to learn about what makes them special, what makes them tick, where'd they come from. And so what I do is I get the videographers and I get our head of videography on the call with them and myself, and we learn. We talk about the business. What kind of feel do they want? Do they like country songs or do they like rock and pop? That's the kind of stuff we want to get across. Does corporate make them sick? Or does that kind of the style that they'd like? And so what we're trying to do is we're trying to tailor fit the content that we have for the individual contractor, not trying to do the cookie cutter or stock footage. It all begins with that pre-production call though.
Contracting is boring. A lot of contractors are in commodity business and they're not creative people. How do you rely on them telling you what to do? Because oftentimes, I do the same thing. I ask people for ideas. They don't know. Do you see the contractors just trying to throw money at the problem? Like, here, take my money. And how do you deal with those?
Oh, gosh. I tell them all the time, listen, you're not Donald Trump or a girl in a bikini. So you better do something that's going to have thumb-stopping power. If all you're going to do is just put a testimonial of you standing in a driveway, when I'm scrolling through a feed, I'm scrolling right past you. So what we have to try to do is create content that in some way people are going to pay attention to. I made this mistake in the beginning with my own channel. I thought people wanted information. I thought they just wanted education. No, people want to be entertained. They turn on that phone at their desk and they scroll through it with no sound on, or they do it in bed because they're looking for something before they go to bed that's going to hit that nerve. And what we are trying to do now is, sure, come to us with your ideas. Then let us script them for you, which is what we do. Take that script and turn it into something that's going to be engaging for the audience right there. Attention is the ROI. And if your videos can't get it, then you might as well just not create anything. You're just throwing stuff out there into the universe and it's not getting your business anything right now. Start thinking about the ROI of money. How much is this going to generate? Long-term play, 5 to 10 years down the road, is how much attention and eyeballs can you get on your business so that you can turn that brand into a dollar bill.
Love it. How did you come up with the Blue Collar Media Group? Was it Haight who gave you that idea?
Oh boy. So let's talk about that. That's a fair question. Sure. Okay.
That's why I asked.
How many thousands of people saw that interaction between me and Lee? All right. And if you don't mind, I think this is important to get out. Yeah. Rewind back to, let's say, March of 2021. And I was working for a company called My Claims Care. They were funding insurance claims, and we had joined Sky Diamonds University because we wanted.
Was it a hedge fund?
No, it was a couple of guys, a couple of investors. We were doing collections for contractors before that time. And so they had the idea that, we're collecting a lot of depreciation checks. What if we funded the claim and then when we collected our own money? And I was like, well, that'd be easy to sell. So what they would do is they would complete the job, and this is in theory, and then they would fund them 92% of the RCV. So 8% you give up never to chase your money again. And so I started selling this product and being the face of it. When we looked at how do we get this product out to more people, at that time, the loudest person that we could find on social media was Lee Haight, and he had Sky Diamonds University. And so we joined that university. I joined for 3 months for, I think it was $15,000. And at that, I went down there and did a podcast with Lee and went to his conference, and he opened his doors of RRCA for them to fund some claims with RRCA. I want to say this all because that led me to that conference, Blue Collar American Dream Conference. And at that time, things weren't going well with my claims care. I had come to find out exactly that week that a couple people had not been funded. And that became close to 14 contractors that had not been funded, including RRCA. And so these people were not doing their job. What they needed me to do is they needed me to sell so they could get ACV checks from new people to pay RCV checks on the back end. When I started to see this, Dmitry, I went to them and I said, guys, show me the bank account. What are we doing here? They showed me the bank account and didn't have the money in it. It had $750,000 in it. And I said, we're going to pay people with this. Well, no, we need that money in order to get investors. And I said, that's not me. I'm not going to be the fall guy or the face guy for this. And so in April of 2021, I quit that company because I was not going to be that guy. I called every single contractor that I thought was on their list that I knew about. I was not the only sales rep, but I was more the face. And I said, this is what's happening, including calling RRCA and others who were funding with this particular group. And I said, guys, I don't think they have the money. I want to make you aware I'm leaving, and I hope you get funded, but I don't think they have it.
And you were an employee?
I was.
Or 1099?
No, I was an employee. I was an employee with them, and I was the head of sales. I was really the face of it all. No one even knew. A lot of people thought I owned the company. And truly, I was the one out there selling it. Now, when I started that, when I left there, I didn't know what I was going to do. There was no plan B. I just hung up on a Zoom call with them and said I quit. And I thought, great, now what am I going to do? And so I started shortly thereafter, 2 days later, Blue Collar Media Group. And so in defense of Lee, I want to say this. He probably thought, boy, here's this guy starting Blue Collar a month later after my conference, Blue Collar American Dream. But I think that the real pain from him, and I mean that pain, came from the fact that I declined his offer to run VP of Sky Diamonds.
He offered you a job.
Yes, and a very good job. Let me be very clear. He offered me a job that was well into the six figures and a very good offer. Him and Donnie came to me and said, we see that you quit. And I still have the offer letter today. I thought about bringing it with me, but I still do. And it was a good paying job. And a lot of people would have taken it. And they would have said, Pat, you got no money. What the hell are you doing?
Why didn't you?
Because I thought, at that time, 33 years old, almost 34, I said, you got to take a chance on yourself at some point in life. And so I told Lee, and I mean this, I said, hey man, thanks for the offer. I called him. He was at a baseball game, I think, if I remember correctly. And I said, I have to decline the offer. And I said, because I have to do this myself. I have to go do a media company. I have to try this and see if I can be successful. He told me that I would come crawling back to him like Deshaun, Bryant, the roof hustler. And I recently talked about this with Deshaun at a conference in Tampa, a little thing there.
Did he cry?
Yeah, well, the reason, and again, I don't want to, at the time we look back, but
it's a revolving door.
Yeah,
there's so many people coming.
Deshaun had just left him to start to go all in at Roof Hustler. And now he lost that, and because he wanted to bring that under the Sky Diamonds umbrella, in my opinion. And now he thought he had me locked in and I was going to be a good addition, and that didn't happen. And so I think that there was some hurt there for him. And, there's been a couple times we've tried to talk since that time, but I think that what you saw at your conference was an individual who feels like, hey, I gave you a lot and I didn't get anything in return. And you stole the name Blue Collar, which people laugh at, and that's comical. But I think that the issue is much deeper for him than that. I think the issue is that you have an individual who feels that people should be following him more than what they have. And I think that he's lost some really good people in his life, and that's unfortunate. But that company did people wrong. In fact, if you go listen very closely in that exchange that Lee and I had, he said, you owe me 60, whatever, some $1,000. You owe me money. Where that comes from is from my claims care not funding his claims. Now, do I owe him money? No, of course not. It'd just be like if a sales rep, do they owe the...
Speaking of 60,000, he owes me
Yeah,
60.
yeah. But I want to be very clear that the blue collar came from the fact of this. What I wanted to do is have a name that I could reach multiple verticals of contractors. Nothing to do with that. I just needed it in white collar. Didn't sound very good, although I bought that domain name. So I said Blue Collar Media Group. And actually, the competition I have online is a pretty good media company in North Carolina who covers the Tar Heels, Duke, Wake Forest, like blue collar, like that is what they call it over there. They're who I had to compete with in the beginning.
Wow.
So I say all that because I believe it's important to give context. Lee's never done me wrong or anything like that, but I believe that there was a deeper pain for him right there than what it might have led on in that moment.
Oh, yeah, that guy hurts. Do you think he's a narcissist?
I think he's somebody that I'm the wrong person to ask the narcissist word to. I've been in the dating world for a long time, and how many girls use that word narcissist to describe somebody who's truly not, just because they don't like their ex? I don't know Lee's personality. I only known him as a respect of, hey, I see the podcast, or I see him, when it comes to a marketing call, or I've done a podcast with him. I would need to know more about his personal life to make an assumption like that.
When you start this media group, start creating content for others, what was the hardest thing that happened to you that you did not expect that is going to be this hard? Of course, starting business, running business, is always hard, but what was the hardest?
I went down to do a podcast that I was paid for, and down in Miami there's still companies still around today, Carlos, and Claim Pay. They weren't called Claim Pay; they were called Claim Pal at the time. He changed his name, but I went down there to do a podcast. And I think he might have paid me $1,500 to do it because he said, "Hey, for your channel, it'll be good short clips for me, right?" And I was the only one, though. I didn't have a team. So what I would do is I had bought one camera and I rented the other one. I couldn't have enough money to buy it. So I set it up and one camera over my shoulder, one camera over his, and I was going to do this. I hit record and I run and I sit down, and that's going to be my stage. I have no idea if I'm in focus. I don't know anything. And so I do the whole 45-minute podcast. And for those who know cameras, an A7 III has a cutoff time limit, about 24, 30 minutes. And so I get done and I look at it and the camera's off. And I didn't know what I was going to do. I was so embarrassed. And I was like, what am I doing? I'm like, I don't know anything about media. I have no business doing this. And I was like, I was paid to do a podcast and I didn't even know what I was doing. I didn't. And then I got home and I didn't have the device to take the SD card to plug it into my laptop because I didn't know how that worked. And I didn't know anything. It was and so I just sit there and I like, crap, man. Like what? I have no business. You want to talk about feeling like a fraud? Oh my Lord, man. I felt like a fraud at that point. Carlos, to his credit, thank you, Carlos, gave me an opportunity to come back down there. He was so understanding.
So nothing came out from the first one?
Oh, I got like 24 minutes and I was out of focus. It focused on the mic that was in front of me. Nothing. So because I sat down, I had no idea. No one could look at it. He was the only one in the room. Hey, will you please look at my camera and make sure I'm in focus? Because I don't have a team or anyone that's working for me. I have no money. And he didn't. But Carlos, to his credit, he's the one who said, hey, man, come back down. It's all good. We'll get it right. And then he had somebody come in the office and help me, and it worked out okay.
Awesome. But in general, what's so hard about this business? Working with the contractors.
The fact that they don't understand the amount of work that goes into a quality piece of video content, the amount of scripting, the coloring of videos, just that alone. Contractors don't understand that a video like we're shooting here today, it doesn't come in beautiful color like you look at on YouTube. There are individuals behind that color every single scene. that make it look and bring out the blues and the reds and make it look this cinematic feel. And that doesn't happen overnight. There are groups of talented editors like you have who make the story come to life. And I wish that contractors understood this is a skill and a very difficult one, and one that takes time, energy, effort, and resources to make it happen at a high level.
You've been around a lot of businesses. Which business is easier, contracting or media business?
I think contracting is easier, but for different reasons. Now, if you're the one up there on the roof, I'm full of crap because that's harder, all right? If you're the one who's, putting the shingle on, tearing it off, no, I'm not going to sit here and pretend to say that me in air conditioning and shooting video is better than that. But what I will say is I believe with media, today's media world, there are less people to follow. There's not a model to follow that because it's so changing so quickly. I think that if you're in the contracting business, there's models that you can follow, and it gives you somebody to look up to and a mentor to have. The media industry is so fragmented, and I work with small businesses. Perhaps another person works with sports teams. Although we do the same thing, the fragmentation means it makes it almost impossible for us to find individuals that we can bounce ideas off of. I think it's one of the reasons you and I have become close over the years is that, I've been able to lean on you for some of the advice when it comes to working in this space. But that's the reason I'd say is the fragmentation at the media level.
Agreed. Why did you pick media and content creation where you did not know anything about it?
Great question. When I left that company, we talked about earlier, My Claims Care, I called around to everybody to tell them what was happening. I wasn't going to hide behind anything. And so every single person, and I swear to this, every single one of them that called me, I'd answer that phone. We're not been paid. I tried to help them in any way I could. But I want to point out that 2 of them gave me a chance. Eco Restore was one of the first in Jacksonville, Florida. They said, well, why don't you do for us what you did for them? And I was like, sure, I need the money bad. Now, I didn't own a camera. This is prior to Carlos, all right? So I didn't own a camera at this point. I had a videographer with my previous company follow me around and make me look good and all that stuff. And I just, basically just waited for the videos. But Josh Bridgman, I believe is his name, he said, do it for me. How much will you charge? How many videos? I have no idea. He charged him like $4,000. And I was like, I don't know for what I'm going to do. And I went up there with an iPhone and I never edited a video. And so literally I hired somebody for $300 for the day who would give me the footage. And he went up there with me, shot the footage with me, and I used an iPhone as a secondary camera, gave me the footage, and that's how I learned to edit, was going through that. Now, the reason I did it is because I just needed the money. So Blue Collar Media Group was started because I thought, hey, maybe somebody will pay me to be a spokesperson originally. That's where I originally came up with the idea, because the only person that would hire me was the first person was David Bazzelli, who said, hey, why don't you do some work for Job Progress? And so I thought, if I'm going to be a spokesperson, I'll just call myself a media group and that'll be it. Maybe it'll turn into something. I never thought in a million years we'd be producing videos like we are now.
Love it. Well, that's entrepreneurial journey. Again, the greatest country in the world.
Man.
Buying power is amazing. People are ready to spend if they like what they see. You just have to be in front of the right people at the right time.
Absolutely.
Who are your biggest role models in the media space, and how did you learn? Like, fast forward, so you have 0 skills. Obviously, we have YouTube, we have Facebook. Like the beautiful things today that you can learn everything on your phone. Yep. Who did teach you the skills that you know today?
So what I can tell you I did is YouTube University 100%. When I first bought that first A7 III, I literally went to how to use an A7 III, and I bought one lens, an 85 millimeter I still have. It was a terrible lens to buy. Like, why would you buy that one? But I did. I had one lens and one camera, and I said, I'm going to go.
Igor says it's a good lens.
It's a great lens, but not as your only lens to have. That's the only one I got, guys. I mean, I got one lens. Igor, you'd appreciate it. I did a shoot outside the first time with no ND filter. So I turned it all the way down, and I had choppy footage. This person paid me. Like, I didn't know what I was doing, but they trusted my brand. That's the one thing that I'll say. They trusted the brand, Dmitry, and they knew from YouTube that I was going to do right by them. If I had to come back out and refilm it, I was going to find a way if I had to hitchhike there to redo it, and I did. And so each one of those was a lesson for me, a lesson that I had to learn in media. As far as who I was to follow, there was no one in the media space that I was sitting there going, I want to do it like they do. What I did know is I was going to follow people like Ed Milet and what they said, and I was just going to keep on going. And there were many times I thought about giving up, being in debt, not having enough to make payroll. I didn't know what I was doing. I wouldn't pay myself. There are still times I don't pay myself. And that's just part of it. I'm not over here sitting, I'm making money hand over fist. No. But what I promise contractors with us is that I'm going to get out there. We're going to do it with you. We'll be there. We're going to be in the hot sun. We're going to be there with you. We may not be doing the work, but at least we'll be by your side while you're doing it. And I don't want to lose that. And if that means that I make less money and we're out there rocking and rolling with these guys, hell yeah.
So I know you have a team. You hire a whole bunch of guys. They travel with you. Sometimes they travel without you.
Yes.
What did you learn from your team?
Everything. They're so much more talented. I get it. I'm a pretty emotional guy, but these guys are so much more talented than me. I watch what they do and I can't keep up. We'll do these edits and the way they come up with it, and they're so good and talented, and they're the reason that I'm able to do this. Everything, patience, forgiveness, grace is the big one. I lose my temper, and yet I'll come back to them and I'll go, "Hey guys, I messed up." We know, Pat, we know you, we know, and everything. Without them, I'm nothing. And I hope they know that. And I've tried to take care of them. They're all W-2. They're all employees of mine. I don't 1099 anything. They all get their salary weekly, and they do what they do. And I have raises and built into their contracts, so they know they're going to make more money if they stick with me. And as I tell everybody, number one rule in my company is rule number 8 from Jordan Peterson. Always tell the truth, or at least don't lie. If you do that, you'll always have a job with me. You do something malicious, you lie to a client, you lie to me, we're not going to work together. So for me, I've got a lot of people that have been with me almost 2 years since my first hire. And then I had a couple right after that, and they've been with me for about 1.5 years now. So it's been great.
Love it. A few more questions before we finish.
Yeah.
What's the most surprising video you've ever made that went viral?
The viral one I'm most surprised about. That I'm most surprised about. Because there's some that I'm not surprised. It is what it is. But surprising one. Probably, there's a company in Georgia that were one of the first ones called Top Tier Roofing, and they started using it on streaming services. They have a commercial. It's for a while, it stayed up on my website. And I didn't think it was going to turn out like it was supposed to. I really didn't. And it was I think maybe 2 years ago, Top Tier would know this, the guys there. It was the first video we ever did that I was like, that's really good. We did it. That's us. My company did that. It was the first one. And Top Tier. And I don't know about viral, but as far as, them using on streaming services, the money they've gained from it, the happiness that I got from that one, that was a major player in us continuing and really getting some confidence under our belt.
Love it.
Yeah, Top Tier Roofing in Jefferson, Georgia.
Last question. What's one thing every business owner should know when it comes to making a video content?
That you should understand your audience, and it's very tough to do. Well, let me back up. No, that's not the one thing. The one thing is negativity, that you should give the devil its due. When you create content at a mass scale or you just put something out there, there will be people who criticize you. There are people that criticize you, me, every single day. And if you are not mentally tough
Why do you think is that? Why is there so much hate, especially on the Facebook ads?
Well, because I don't think there's consequences. You can't get punched in the face. You know,
Yes, you can.
well, yeah, well, you but I'm gonna give you a great example. If you did a wonderful video with this black and white roofing.
Yeah.
And I've been thinking about this a lot. I'm glad I get a chance to say it. Go through the comments on that. I don't know who the person is, but on the comments section, there's somebody who says, I don't know what it is. I just don't like this guy. And I read that because I read the comments on some of your videos. And I think to myself, why? What went through that individual's mind that was like, you know what? This is what I need to say right now. And so what's happened is we've given a platform to people without consequence. And if you start creating content and you're not prepared for that negativity that's going to come your way, then you are going to be shocked at how hard it is to keep on going because you're not used to that in your everyday life. In fact, you may not never get it. And so now here you are getting an immense amount of negativity, especially when you stand for something, you're going to get more of it. And I think they need to understand what it's like to be able to deal with that.
Love it. Great ending. Thank you so much, guys. Comment below what you think about this conversation. If you need any help with any video production, Patrick, I know he does high quality work, not only in the roofing space or contractors. I'm pretty sure if you have a business, he'll figure out what content to create for you. Reach out. I'm going to put a link below. What's the website?
BlueCollarMediaGroup.com.
Awesome. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you, Dmitry, as always. Thank you very much, sir.